Oh, hello, folks. This is Steve AB4L. It's early spring. It's an early spring. It's not really officially springtime yet, but it's an early spring. I had a friend complain about her runny nose today and weepy eyes, irritated eyes, because all the trees are starting to flower and the pollen is. I'm not making fun of her. She's right. See the smile on my face? It's springtime. And we haven't had any snow. Anyway, nothing in this episode is a promotion, nor is it a recommendation. I always have a tab open to Slashdot. I want to show you something. Now, this morning, very early, I did an episode based on a Slashdot clue. Let me find it. Yeah. StarCoder 2 is a code-generating AI that runs on most GPUs, and they went in to say that this Israeli company, JFrog, had found hundreds of malicious AI models. Because apparently this is like like GitHub, but for AI, and you do a variation on the model and you deposit it up there. Well, the bad boys have been doing it too. And this website it's called something face. What's it called? Hugging Face. Hugging Face. The AI community building the future. Hugging Face says that we do our best to try to weed those out, but the Israelis say you missed some important ones. So they're backdooring anybody that downloads some of these. Now, I'm giving you that as a lead-in. So this is Slashdot. And what we do is we now just scroll up. See, that was posted February 28th, yesterday, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. 7 p.m. yesterday, Eastern Time. At 8 a.m. today, February 29th, leap year day, GitHub, it's, what did you just do? GitHub, let's build from here. GitHub is where over 100 million developers, software developers, shape the future of software together. They put their libraries up there so other people can use them. The AI is, I tinker with an AI model, which is open source, and I make it different somehow, and I put it back up there under my name for someone else to use if they feel like it. Do you see the parallel? Contribute to the open source community, manage your Git repositories. So when you put stuff under your registered name, it's a repository. Now I'm doing this in case you don't know anything about this kind of stuff. Now, GitHub has access control, bug tracking, software feature requests, blah, 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 blah. It's famous. I've mentioned it in other episodes and shown you things there. Let's look at this one. Now, keep in mind, Hugging Face. And the Israelis, JFrog, saying it's got some bad stuff snuck in there. The one at Hugging Faces, they claim there were hundreds of bad boys in there. GitHub besieged by millions of malicious repositories in ongoing attack. GitHub is struggling to contain an ongoing attack that's flooding the site with millions of code repositories. These repositories contain obfuscated malware. I can write code and use keywords that if you read the code, you can understand what I'm doing. It's like, suppose the steering wheel in your car, suddenly you had to call it by the letter A. And the ignition slot, you call it B. And the key is called Z. And the door handle is called E. And you're a stranger trying to explain these things to people, and you only can use single letters for the names of the things. Instead of saying windshield wiper, you have to say G. Most people would look at you like, what are you talking about? All right? Your G looks like it needs a new F, meaning replacement rubber. Nobody would understand what they might be able to finally figure it out. Obfuscation. We can write code that way. And some repositories supposedly have rules against it. Don't allow it anymore. But what about the ones that have been there for 5 years? GitHub is struggling to contain an ongoing attack that's flooding the site. Flooding the site. That means it's happening right now. With millions of code repositories. These repositories contain obfuscated malware that steals passwords and cryptocurrency from developer devices. So I download it. I'm a Python programmer. There's a million different Python libraries up there that do things I need to do. Why should I reinvent the code? I want to get on with writing the software to do something special. I don't want to, and I have to have like 100 different functions. Do I need to reinvent them again like it was at the beginning in the 1980s and earlier, like when I started programming, where there were no libraries? And if you wanted to do something, you had to think of how to code it. You know, there's the Chromium browser open source, and okay, that's Google, but the actual browser is Google Chrome. Oh, wait a minute, even Microsoft uses that library and finagles with it a little bit to make it look like their Edge browser. And Brave browser also uses the Chromium base repository and does their little on top finagling to make them look unique. But the 90% core is the same. Nobody wants to write a new browser totally from scratch, especially for how complex the functions are that it has to perform today compared to when the web just started back in the early 90s. The malicious repositories are clones of legitimate ones, making them hard to distinguish to the casual eye. What does that mean? That means I'm going to screw you over. Anybody can download these things. I'll just download these things. I'll look in there and I'll figure out how to sneak my stealing software into it. And do it in a way where even if the original guy looked at it, it's only 10,000 lines long, he wouldn't notice that I snuck something in there. I'm explaining this. Why am I, all right? Meaning the source code is copied so developers can use it in an independent project that builds the original one. The result is millions of forks, that's what they're called, it's a new version, with names identical to the original one that add a payload that's wrapped under 7 layers of obfuscation. So that means, you know, the example I gave about common car parts. So when they want to add something, they put a function in that is obfuscated and goes to a layer that is hard to read. And that one sneakily calls another layer that's hard to read. But computers are fast enough that even though it dives through 7 levels to get the actual bad code in there, your computers are so fast you don't even notice it. When I started, that would really slow things down. But these days, with all the gaming stuff, everything is super speed anyway with the new CPUs and the new types of RAM. It's perfect for the bad guys. It's perfect for the bad guys. To make matters worse, some people unaware of the malice of these imitators are forking the forks. What does that mean? Oh, I didn't know there was bad stuff in there. I just downloaded this thing that, oh, I was looking for a certain name. Isn't this the one I was really looking for? Well, it looks like it doesn't. And then I'm not a bad guy. I just make a little play around with it, but I put it up under not the same name, but a close name, and I advertise it. I added a little feature here, and I'm also passing on someone else's bad malware. You see how insidious it is? Most of the forked repositories are quickly removed by GitHub Now it says, the automation, now they mentioned 2 guys. I haven't read down so as far as this. I saw the headline, I knew I wanted to do this. Matan Giladi. That's the first time I'm seeing the names. Gil David. Why am I pronouncing it that way? Researchers at security firm Apiro. Well, that episode I did just after midnight, that was JFrog, and the guy who heads that is an Israeli. The original company was in Israel, but now they've got U.S. branches. So they run things from here, but in Israeli. And now, this is the first time I read this far in this article, and I've got 2 Israeli names there. It says here that GitHub has got an automatic software review process, a computer program, that looks for bad stuff, but they're saying, however, the automation detection seems to miss many repros, and the ones that were uploaded manually survive. Because the whole attack chain seems to be mostly automated on a large scale, that 1% will survive, that survives still amount to thousands of downloadable libraries. In other words, they're spraying them into every possible legitimate repro is being forked, irrespective of what its purpose is. This is what the bad guys do. Let's see if this goes to Apiro. Yeah, Apiro.com. So there's the article that's being summarized on GitHub, on Slashdot. And you can read it, and they give examples. First time I'm looking at this page. And here's the pictures of the guys. Matan Giladi, security researcher, and Gil David, not David, head of AI. And it looks like there's probably a LinkedIn. Yes, there's a LinkedIn for him. He went to Yale. Oh, here's some of his publications. You recognize the language, right? That's what the Tanakh is written in. It's Hebrew. That confirms that he's Israeli. Let's see if it gives his. Oh, there's an awful lot of stuff here. Boy, he's written a lot of articles. Wait a minute. He's got patents. Yeah, he's got patents. He tells what courses he's taken. These are all IT types of courses. Oh, he doesn't tell us his education beyond. He might have made mostly stuff. Oh, do you think he ever served in the IDF? You think that's possible? So here's an example. He's a co-author, clustering and classification via localized diffusion folders. I have no idea what that means. But it's a patent filed in 2010, so he's been at it for a while. Anomaly detection in dynamically evolving data and systems. Well, that's what this business is about, anomaly detection. These are repros that are being contaminated with malicious code, so they are an anomaly. They differ from something original by some subtle means, and how do you detect that? I'm just interpreting where his mindset has been. And I can't read the Hebrew. And let's go to Apiro. Computer and Network Security, New York, New York. Application security and development teams from companies like BlackRock, with complete visibility, whatever. Let's go to their website. Let's see if we can figure out where they are. See, we can't find, let's just do a Google search on Matan Galati, which is not too unique a name, but whatever. Oh, here he is, LinkedIn. Tel Aviv, Yafo. Oh, so one guy's in New York and the other guy's in Tel Aviv. Oh, wait a minute. Checkpoint Software Technologies, Ben Gurion University, the Negev, is where he got his degree. Full English proficiency, Hebrew, also native or bilingual, which means that Hebrew is the language he grew up from being a baby, and the rest is what he learned along the way. Do we think it's the same guy? Yeah, it is. It's the same guy. So, in writing this article, are they both working for Apiro? Well, they might, even though that other guy says on LinkedIn that he works for a different company. Let's see if there's anything that we can learn from the company. Careers Partners News. Learn more. Let's just see. Taking an entirely new approach to application security. Well, they all claim that. All right, here's the management team. Let's see what kind of names. Idan Plotnik. Idan Plotnik. Back in the 1970s, his parents immigrated from the former Soviet Union under the Great Exodus. I knew a lot of them when I was in Israel at that time. Yonatan, right there we know he's an Israeli. Yonatan Eldar. Eldar Ben Chaim. Oh, this is another Israeli. Moti. Moti is usually a nickname, like, let me show you, just to think of a famous general. M-O-T-I space G-U-R. Moti Gur. Let's see if we can figure it out. Moti Gur, FR Financial, I don't know, but there he is. Moti Gur, Mordechai Gur. Why would I remember him? Now he's dead. Legacy. This is a good one. Here's one. Motigur, they say Motagur. It's just a transliteration problem. Do you recognize the city? You should be able to recognize it by this right here. Motagur on telephone without helmet. That's him sitting right here. So these guys are paratroopers. What year would this be? Would this be 1967? Were the paratroopers on the Mount of Olives before entering the old city of Jerusalem? When I was in Israel, did I have friends who were a part of that? Yes. And 2 that I know were wounded and 1 died. I didn't know him, I knew his father. Moti Gur. So he goes back a long way, doesn't he? And why would I particularly remember him? Excuse me for reminiscing. Gur helped create the Follow Me slogan of commanders of the Israel Defense Forces. What does that mean? What's reference 3? Oh, it's in his obituary, in the Independent. What would that mean? What kind of person was he? That you would follow me, especially starting under Moshe Dayan, when he was defense minister, with the help of people like Mordechai Gur, in an attack on an important position, live fire, the officer goes first, leading the men. He doesn't sit back protected and say, go do it. He says, follow me. And that implies that before you do that, you decide, if I am the commander and I am wounded or died, who immediately takes command? Who takes command after him, they know the first 5 or 6 that will take over. And why do you do that? So that you have a higher rate of success in whatever your tactical objective is. And it can mean the difference between life and death of the civilian population in many situations, especially in terror attacks. I'm thinking of certain episodes. Anyway, so we went off on the name Moti, right? Can I backtrack? So it's another Israeli company. The other one was JFrog, and they're both saying essentially the same thing. The bad guys are totally infiltrating the hottest, most used repositories, and even though they are making a best effort to try to keep the malicious guys out, in fact, it's a flood and they're succeeding, and that means it's going to attack you eventually. You. Yeah, on your computer. That's right. Steve AB4Yell. Just an idiot running his mouth. Saying see you in 73.